Okay, so we've looked at visual and auditory and proprioceptive processing and how that can impact people. And you've told me about people reacting in a very unusual way to emotional praise. Tell me more about that.
Well, there's some people, if you say, well done, or good boy, or whatever you say, children, or good girl, they'll thump you or kick you. And, people are very puzzled by this. Why? And teachers particularly, that's, we praise people in order to encourage them to learn. Yes. What they're saying is that instead of just getting a nice warm smile feeling because you're smiling at me, they actually get overwhelmed by this appalling surge of pain from the sympathetic nervous system blowing its fuses. And one woman describes it as like being drowned in a tsunami or hit by an emotional taser. I think that was one which really brought it home to me. They get this surge of pain and they feel as if they're being attacked. Their body, you've triggered the body's self-defense system. So, oops, they feel as if they're being attacked and they will respond as if they're being attacked. Now, this is not everybody, but you do come across quite a number of the people, and it really, the behaviour is very unpredictable in the sense that we can't see what on earth is happening here. This person's just been beastly, horrible to me. Yes. And the response is so negative. I had one young man who couldn't bear names. And if he heard a name, everything blew inside him, particularly his own, of course. And so I said to him, well, why don't you just call me by my initial, P, and I'll call you J. And there was a great cloud had lifted from him because it had taken the emotional heat out of it. But it may be that direct speech will do the same thing. A woman I had to see who I was warned would attack me, and she hated strangers. So I'm sitting there by the doorway wondering what else to do, And I noticed she was scratching her hair, playing with her hair. So I stood by the door and did the same things. And then eventually I said, if I'd been doing this for a little while, I think I'd want to brush my hair. And if I wanted to brush my hair, I'd put my hairbrush on the bed, and immediately her hairbrush went on the bed. Now, that's a very complicated sentence for a woman with autism to understand, severe autism to understand. Anyway, she did, and she put her hair, and I walked over to her. This was the first time I'd ever seen her. And I brushed her hair, and immediately she put her arms around me and rocked me. Thank God there's somebody here who understands that if you speak to me directly, it sets off this awful, painful surge. And
but do we know why direct speech might be experienced as such a threat? Well, what is it about the praise or the direct speech that is so overwhelming for somebody? Why?
Because you know how you get a warm feeling.
Yes, right.
If you smile.
Yes. Oh.
Nice, isn't it?
Yes, but that might be overwhelming.
That is experience. I mean, I feel a smile down in my toes.
You feel it in your chest, in your gut. Yes, that's true.
But they are emotionally oversensitive.
Yes.
And they react as if they're being attacked. Their body reacts as if it's being attacked instead of this is nice warm person.
And if you take that to its logical conclusion, then it might drive somebody to behave in a way that will preclude praise. I can protect myself from that warm fuzzy feeling by not impressing people and by making sure they don't like me too much, so I protect myself. Would that seem...
Yes, I think that's right. But what you have to do in practical terms then is to avoid. Just as I used his initial rather than his name, you have to think of ways of avoiding giving direct praise. Don't use direct speech. Don't smile at them. Don't say good boy. Don't say well done. There are other ways of you can sort of put something in front. and walk away, and as you're leaving the room say, "Oh, that was great, wasn't it?" or something. But
so it's not direct. Okay.
It's not direct.
Okay.
But with some, I would want to avoid it altogether because it just is such a the emotional trigger is so easily thrown.
Yes.
That you really want to avoid it altogether.
So would something like... Go on.
So it's very counterintuitive. It's very, very difficult working with emotional
Well, it is, and
regulation.
especially for parents as well.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking, is there a way, would a gesture unaccompanied by a happy facial expression, for example, if you were thumbs up and then turning away and said, "That was very well done," so that's indirect, would that be...
Well, I think
acceptable?
you have to try it and see, quite frankly.
Yes.
A lot of this work is trial and error.
Yes.
Because what you're doing is reading the body language, which their response is giving you.
Yes.
And you have to learn from them, basically, what you can do, where the limits are, where the boundaries. What is it that is setting my child off?
Yes. Is it the direct eye contact? Yes. Is it my tone of voice? Is it the shape of my face
Yes, it can, of course, be
on?
direct eye contact.
Yes.
But of course, and direct eye contact is excruciatingly painful for some of them. But also, some of them will fixate on eyes, so they'll come and do that to you.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
The way through that one is to actually make a game of it.
Yes.
And immediately you've got a focus of interest.
Yes. I'm using your interest, I'm using your fascination, but I'm making it interactive, by being playful.
But this business of emotional overload, I do give people a lesson in what this feels like, an example. And what I tell them to do is to close their eyes and to take themselves back to the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened. Having first promised them that I will not ask what they think about it. So I get them to close their eyes and go back to the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to them, and of course this is painful, and to stay with the pain. But what I'm interested in and getting them to tell me about afterwards is, what did it feel like? Physically. Yes. What were the physical sensations this triggered? And I'll leave them for 2 or 3 minutes, and you have to be awfully careful because some of them can't come back. So come back. But what they will say is, my heart started racing. Yes. I got hot. I got pain here.
My knees started trembling.
My feet, all over. Yes. Or my breathing rate increased, or all those sorts of things. And what you point out to them, that all those symptoms, all those effects, are in fact symptoms of the sympathetic nervous system getting upset. And then you say to them, well, now let's go back and magnify those physical sensations 100 times, and then you will begin to know what hypersensitivity to emotional overload is. Hypersensitive to emotion. You'll begin to get, and most people say, well, I don't even want to think about it, let alone go there, because it is so unpleasant.
Yes. There's, I don't know if you've read the book, The Reason I Jump.
Yes.
Yes, and there's it's written by a Japanese teenager, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name at the moment. And one thing he says in that really resonates with what you've just said for me. He talks about scattergun memories, how we will all have a memory of that most embarrassing moment or of that most distressing moment. But you and I can control the depth to which we re-experience it. When I think of that most embarrassing moment, yes, I had the heartbeat and my knees went trembling and it was unpleasant, but it was nowhere near as unpleasant as it was when the actual thing happened 25 years ago. And he says that for him, he has no control over the depth to which he re-experiences it. So it's not just the sympathetic nervous system in the moment. It's a memory of it as well.
Well, it calls in memory as well. I mean, we know ourselves that if we are deeply upset, it'll actually trigger off various other pains, which become part of the whole pain system. But it's really important that we avoid triggering this, because it's, It's counterintuitive, it's really difficult, but you can learn to do it and the person can function. That particular woman who, the hairbrushing, once the staff understood this, they could take her out then, and they took her out to do some work in the evenings when the cafe was closed, and she could do the drying, washing and drying out. So she had a job.
Yeah.
Because they avoided direct speech. They knew what to avoid.
Yeah. So it supported her to have a completely different role in society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To have a role in
Yeah.
society, basically.